Minutes. I know you're hungry or whatever you got to do. Mikey Garcia made headline. I don't know if you heard the interview yesterday. Did you hear the interview he did?
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh, he did an interview, and there's been a lot of speculation. Me too, myself included, about him going up training with Snack. What's your take on Mikey Garcia going up to train with Victor Conte?
Look, I mean,
And you got history. You guys have history.
yeah, no. I
What's that?
think, look, I mean, Victor has. It is not the same Victor it was before. So I think he's been really trying to be a positive force in the sport, helping these young fighters gain muscle, gain strength in a responsible and safe way. All these fighters which have worked with him, they have not tested positive. So I don't really look at. I believe always in giving people another chance, and I think Victor got another chance, and he turned around his life, and he is a different person today than he was. So, I mean, from that point of view, I don't have a problem with it. And Mikey is one of the smartest people I know, and he knows exactly what to do. I mean, when he agreed to take this fight against Spence, and when I say nobody, I really mean nobody gave him a chance. Probably, maybe now some people are starting to turn a little bit, but I haven't really seen many. Because Mikey knows what he is doing, and if he feels that gaining the muscle mass and the strength in a sophisticated manner, like he can with Victor, is going to help him in the fight, and that's what he's going to do. And so, he's one determined young man, Mikey Garcia. And as I said before, as I said in the beginning, you can never bet against him.
If I could be remiss, I'm gonna be devil's advocate. Willie Monroe just popped dirty.
Okay.
And he was under the advisement of Victor Conte.
Yeah, okay, but I mean, you have to. There are always some bad apples, So you can't really say that is Victor's fault. So you don't know what people take, or sometimes what's going on. So I believe that Mikey knows exactly what he's doing, and he's going to be doing whatever he's doing in a responsible manner.
What was the conversation between you and Mikey as it relates to, hey, Richard, I want Earl Spence, let's make it happen?
Yeah, you're laughing. I think I had the same reaction.
Because it's funny to me, for real, like in real life. It's funny to me.
I was laughing too, and I thought it was a joke. But he was serious. I mean, Mikey is not the kind of guy who just says things because of saying something. He is saying it because he's going to follow through, and that's exactly what he's been doing here, following through. So I was surprised in a way, but in another way I wasn't surprised, because Mikey is the kind of guy who challenges himself to fight the best. And he doesn't want to just go into a weight class and sort of like handpick an opponent to get the belt. No, he went, in his last few fights, he went against the strongest and toughest guys, and now he's going to do that again. And now the question is, did he bite off too much, by going up these two weight classes and going up and fighting pound for pound one of the best fighters in the world with Errol Spence. A lot of people actually say that he is the best. And most people have Mikey and Errol within the top 5 pound for pound best fighters in the world. So just that alone is very difficult, that you actually can put a boxing match together where you have two guys who are young, in their prime, in the top 5 pound for pound, and sort of like within the same weight class. For that to happen, that happens, you can't say every generation.
Sure.
It maybe happens every other generation.
Sure.
So for us as fight fans, to be able to see this, to witness that, is just mind-blowing. I mean, this is, and I've promoted a lot of big fights. This is the biggest matchup I think I have ever promoted.
I'm sending this to Floyd.
No, this is the biggest matchup. No, you can't.
I'm messing with you.
This is the biggest matchup, and and the fact is that, as I just told somebody else, that you have a Fox behind this.
Sure, big engine.
The whole marketing machine of Fox, and you've seen, Fox is not just like putting their foot in the water or their toes in the water. They are jumping head first in into boxing, and the way they have been promoting boxing, you saw that with that Charlo fight, it blows your mind. I mean, their shoulder programming, the Charlos, when they did the shoulder programming on Fox, did like 1.2 million, 1.3 million viewers. That's more than 98% of the actual fights did over the past 2 years, and that's just a shoulder programming show. So the power of Fox to promote and expose these young guys is just absolutely amazing, and we haven't had that in the last 40 years or so. Going back to the days of Ali,
Wide world of sports, basically.
yeah, exactly. Sugar Ray Leonard, Hagler,
and
Hearn,
NBC had some run too.
And so on, exactly.
Jesse
But
James,
we haven't
Rahal,
had that
guys,
like in 40 years. I mean, Oscar's first few fights were on free over the air, and you see what it did. It elevated these careers of these guys, and it elevated the sport. So for Fox, the biggest story last year was Fox to come into boxing. What that can do to the sport is the same it did all those years ago to the NBA and to the NFL and the Major League Baseball. It elevated these sports, and you're going to see the same with boxing. It's going to take boxing to a totally different level, and then to put fights like the one we announced today on live Fox on Channel 11 in prime time on a Saturday night. I mean, these are going to be two unbelievable matchups, and you need that on Fox so that when those people. We're not just talking about boxing fans or sports fans. We're talking about the general public. When the general public goes and is on Fox, Channel 11, and they're going to see these kind of fights, guess what? They're going to stick with it.
Yeah.
And that's how you make new boxing fans. And that's the power of Fox.
Speaking of big matchups, Mikey Garcia also said yesterday that he rates Terrence Crawford's resume a C+. How would you rate Terrence Crawford's resume?
Maybe slightly better than that. I would say, maybe like a B or so. I mean, Terrence Crawford is a great fighter. Let's face it. So is Lomachenko.
Sure.
But I personally, and I said it before, like Lomachenko has how many fights? 10, 11 fights.
Somewhere in there.
Yeah, something like that. 1 loss, 10 wins, or something like that. So how can you, after 11 fights, be number 1 or number 2 on the pound-for-pound list? And you look at his opponents as well.
Not unless you fought all 11 world champions.
Yeah, but you look at the opponents he fought, and in most of the fights, all of the fights, he was a huge favorite. So not just because he is so good, but the quality of opponents is just. I mean, I don't want to put him down because he is an incredible fighter, but how can you be pound for pound number 1 or number 2, and you compare his resume, and then you compare that to a Mikey Garcia, who has 39 fights, multiple division world champion, fought everybody, now challenging himself against an Errol Spence. I mean, I think it's like not even close. So some of those pound for pound lists, I think people are gonna have to take with caution.
Who's 2? You have Mikey at 1. Who's 2?
I think Spence is number 2.
Okay, so we got it. We got what we want then. Exactly. You got what you want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think those 2, and then I think Crawford and Lomachenko are there. I think Deontay Wilder is there as well. So there's like Canelo is there as well. So there's like a group of fighters. Whether you're number 1 or number 2 or number 3 or number 4, I sort of like, they're pretty close to each other, and that's why just to have 2 guys in the same weight class being able to fight each other who are in that exclusive club of the pound for pound best fighters in the world is so rare.
Go ahead.
What did you think about Floyd last fight? I know he just fought on New Year's. It was the spar exhibition.
I think it was exactly what it was as advertised. It was an exhibition. Floyd did what he had to do. The other kid, it obviously never boxed, got stopped. And good for Floyd, picked up a nice paycheck. It was an exhibition, didn't count on anybody's record. It was entertainment. I think the people who staged it, the Ryzen group, they got their money's worth, because before that fight was announced, nobody here knew what the Ryzen is. Nobody knew outside of Japan what Ryzen is. Today, people know what Ryzen is. I think they increased their brand value, and it was probably worse what they paid to Floyd to increase their brand value, Ryzen, and that's how you have to look at it. So I think it was a win-win, and you know. And the fight fans, if anybody thought that the little Japanese guy was going to go and knock Floyd out, I mean, come on, we all knew what was going to happen, but it was fun. I think it was fun. Floyd had fun.
Yeah, I'm sure he did. 9 million smiles.
Had a big smile throughout, as long as the fight lasted. Had a big smile on his face, and who can blame him? Good for him.
Well, did you hear the reports that Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury did over 700,000 buys in the UK? Did you hear that report?
Yeah, I heard that as well. Look, the fact is, what exactly the numbers are. If you, the fact is, if you take the UK numbers and you take the US numbers and you put them together, it was substantially bigger than any pay-per-view revenues
because of the US market.
Anthony Joshua ever delivered. So that's why, you know, I mean, this was a big fight. I mean, this was the biggest from a revenue point of view, from a revenue generating point of view. It was one of the biggest fights, and certainly the biggest heavyweight fight in a long time. And the gate at Staples Center was the second highest gate in the history of boxing at Staples Center, second only to De La Hoya Mosley.
Oh yeah, yeah.
As a promoter, I know you just said about the UK and the US buys. Do you look at the people that legal stream? I know the number was crazy. It was like, I think almost 800 million in revenue that was lost with the illegal streams.
Well, you know, we have people which monitor that and try to take down these streams, but it's unfortunate that there's not more that can be done. It is a problem. And it's a problem, and we try to keep up with those technologies, and we're hiring companies which are policing, and we are hiring investigative firms as well, where we're going very, very hard after the people who actually do that, because with today's technology, you can actually find out who, with the IP addresses and so on, you can find out if you, for example, or you illegally streamed it. And if we do have these people, which we're in the process of actually getting now, we are going to go after them to the highest extent of the law. We don't care if this is going to cost us per case $100, $200, $300, $400, $500,000 to go after them. And even if we're not going to get any money, because these people have no money, even if we get no money, we're still going to have to do that, because we have to go after them. We have to stop these pirates, because what they do is they're stealing money out of the fighters' pockets. In a pay-per-view, like, you know, the vast majority of the money goes to the fighters, right? And that's how Floyd ended up making all this money. So you're really stealing directly from the fighters. And you look at somebody like a Deontay Wilder or a Tyson Fury. These are guys which started from very simple beginnings. These are guys with tremendous families. Look at like Deontay's daughter and what he goes through and everything. These are guys who work day and night in the ring and prepare for a fight, and have had dreams since they were little kids, you know, growing up, going to the gym to eventually one day make it. And then they make it, and then there are these people out there who have nothing better to do than going and steal the signal instead of paying the pay-per-view money, or maybe inviting some buddies over and share the cost of the pay-per-view. I mean, it's just wrong.
With those numbers, 50 million, the second highest gate at Staples Center, do you think Eddie Hearn has had a negative effect on Anthony Joshua's career in terms of promotion? Because he gave up 50 million. Now he's potentially, numbers-wise, he's not the ace high monetarily.
Well, you know, the thing is, Eddie, I think he did very well for Anthony in the beginning of his career, let's be honest. The way he sort of like, you know, maneuvered him to the world title. I think where the first mistake was that they did the Charles Martin fight, where Anthony Joshua became world champion, that they did that fight in the UK and not in the US. They should have done that fight from Las Vegas. And at the same time now, this English guy who is very charismatic, very good looking, and he can fight. I'm talking about Anthony Joshua. He coming over here and winning the world title from Charles Martin, the American guy, on American pay-per-view, America would have fallen in love with Anthony Joshua. And then he can go back with the belt to England, present the belt to the English fans, and do his first title defense from the O2 in London. That's how I would have maneuvered it. So you see what happened with the Klitschko's. They basically fought, with the exception of a handful of, no, actually less than a handful of fights, they fought in Germany. And they were content with the money they made, $7, $8 million, $9 million, $10 million, which is great, right? But think what they could have made if they would have come here to the United States. You saw Klitschko here at the Staples Center against Lennox Lewis. It was a bloody Klitschko, and they had to stop the fight. But you know what? Klitschko walked out into the Staples Center with Hotel California, and the Staples Center crowd, they were on their feet and they cheered him on.
I remember.
And even though they had to stop the fight, or he didn't get the W, people really liked Klitschko. Klitschko should have followed up on that, and he could have owned the U.S. market, and the money he would have made as a heavyweight world champion owning the U.S. market would have been so much more than he could have ever made in the UK, in Germany in his case. So I do believe that they overplayed their hand with Anthony Joshua, and that while in the beginning of the career I think they did a terrific job, now in that chapter now I think they overplayed their hand. They should have come with the Martin fight. They certainly should have come with the fight for Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder to the United States, to Las Vegas, the heavyweight capital of the world. And Anthony Joshua sells out the venues in London, right? 90,000 people, which is fantastic. 90,000 people, but then you generate. Eddie said that, I'm not making this up. You guys can check it. Eddie said that they can gross it to like 10 million. So they can get like a $10 million gate, which is nice, a $10 million gate. But when Floyd
in Vegas, 62 million,
75 million
75.
against
McGregor
and against Pacquiao, and like 60 or so million against McGregor.
62 against
so like
McGregor.
75, 77, 60 million, 50 million. I mean, these are like different gates. And so you only have, I don't know, 18, 19, 20,000 people in the stadium. But in the end of the day, when everything is said and done and you're retired from the sport, is it going to be like, man, I fought in front of 90,000 people at Wembley Stadium and I made $10 million? Or is it, man, I fought in front of 20,000 people at the Las Vegas Strip, my name was up in the bright lights of Las Vegas, and I made $70 million? I mean, which one do you rather have?
Do you think that part of the reason he does this because he has control of the market space in terms of the tickets and the merchandising and the concession
Well, you can do that here too. I mean, why can't you have that here? I mean, the way that works is you put all the money in a pot and you share it. That's the way it works. And I mean, do you think in Las Vegas at the MGM when we did the Floyd Mayweather fights, I mean, we sold like millions of dollars of merchandise. They're not selling millions of dollars of merchandise over there in the UK. I mean, you have the money from the closed circuit, the bars and the restaurants here in the US, huge. I mean, for those commercial rights.
Circuit, yeah.
I mean, you have all of these different revenue streams and sources which make these fights in the US that much bigger.
So who should Anthony Joshua fight next, April 13th?
Well, I think they already are pretty much set with White.
You think so?
That's what I think. That's and then I think he's going to have probably some mandatories, and so he sort of like is really stuck now because overplayed his hand. Because the fact is now people want to see Wilder and Fury again. That's what they want to see.
Isn't that amazing?
And
how
there's not really, you don't really hear like, you read these stories and so on. There was everything. I mean, before the Fury fight, it was everything. Deontay Wilder has to fight Joshua. Joshua has to fight Deontay Wilder. You look now at these forums. There's really nobody really demands that fight. People are generally excited about seeing the rematch between Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. I mean, really, that was an unbelievable fight.
Did you hear rumors of that Eddie Hearn is reaching out to Tyson Fury to potentially maybe to put him in with Dillian White?
Why would Tyson Fury want to do that? I mean, this is like, I mean, Tyson Fury had no problem to come here and fight for the heavyweight world title, and And unlike, Eddie, like overplaying his hand with Joshua, because I don't think it's Joshua, I think it was just Eddie overplaying his hand. Why would Tyson Fury want to go and do that? Tyson Fury wants to go and do what fight fans want to do see again, which is the rematch with
Right.
Deontay Wilder. That's what people want to see. And Fury made it happen the first time. Wilder made it happen, and now those two guys are gonna want to do it again. And it will be a freaking massive fight. A massive fight, because the first time he alluded it here at the press conference, and really not too many people gave Wilder a chance.
Fury
a chance. Let's be honest. Most people sort of like, oh, it's too much, too fast for Tyson
Sure.
Fury. We should maybe have another couple of fights. But hey, were they wrong? Were we all wrong?
What grade would you give Eddie Hearn in the second half of Anthony Joshua? You gave Terrence Crawford a B.
An F.
Whoa. I didn't expect that, but an F, okay.
Yeah.
F not for Frederick, F for failure.
Yeah, exactly. No,
Wow.
So I mean, this is not like. Well, what would you?
Not a
give
D
him?
minus?
What would you give him?
I think Eddie has failed. I
has
humbly
failed,
think, but I
yeah.
can't speak for you. But I think
No, let me ask you that question.
yeah.
Talking about failure. So if you look at like what all the when the billion dollar Eddie announced this big deal, right? And all the fighters he was going after, he was going to sign. You can see all the videos, and everybody was like drooling, like, oh my gosh, this guy is going to own it. How many has he?
he don't have the money. It's a
How many has he
fraud.
signed? How many has he signed? So what grade would you give him there?
He's a used car salesman.
And
Eddie Hearn is
then
a
you
used car
you
salesman,
You look
man.
at all of these. You look at all of these things. Or when he told the Zone, he gave interviews. Again, I'm not making this shit up. You could look at it. He said that they're going to get 1 million subscribers from the December fight, Canelo against Fielding.
It was free.
I bet if you would be the CEO of the Zone, or you would be the CEO of the Zone, you start looking at some of these statements, and you're going to start thinking, shit. So he said he's going to deliver this, and that fighter. In order to get these fighters, he probably told them, we need to announce that I have $1 billion, because if we're going to announce that I have $1 billion, I'm going to be able to get all of these fighters. They are all going to come. So let's do the press conference and let's announce the $1 billion. Well, you know what? It didn't work. And then with the Canelo thing, I bet you they didn't get 1 million subscribers either. So, you start looking at these things, and suddenly
He thought it was easy. He thought it was cake. He thought he can come over here and lie. And I thought he'd just come over here and believe that he can just flaunt in front, and because he didn't think there was no allegiance, no loyalty here. He thought it was like the Wild Wild West. Unbeknownst to him, that everyone is tied into people. No matter if you're a media.
there is actually such thing as loyalty.
Speak
there's
on it.
actually such thing as loyalty, and there is actually such thing as fighters. What we do is, and I know what Al does, he wants to educate the fighters and show them, tell them what these opportunities are. And if you are a fighter and you are a Mikey Garcia or an Alex Spence or a Deontay Wilder, and there are others, the Charlos, Broner, Pacquiao, and there are some others, they believe in their talent. They are, all those names I just said, are very charismatic, and they connect with people. And if you connect with people and you're charismatic, you want to work, you want to perform in an uncapped environment, meaning that the sky's the limit, that you can make, that's the American dream. You can, the sky's the limit, if all the stars are aligned and everything goes well, you can make so much money, and so much, I don't know what so much is, a lot.
But Floyd proved it.
Floyd proved it,
Oscar proved it.
Oscar proved it. The fact is, if you believe in yourself, and you know you're good, and you know you're charismatic, why would you want to go into an environment where you have no upside? And if Floyd would have gone into that environment, which, by the way, when I started to get involved with Floyd back after the Baldomir fight, Floyd made like $2-3 million, something like that. And then, let's say back then a Zone would have come along and would have said, Floyd, we're going to offer you $30 million a fight. And you're making $2-3 million now, we're going to offer you $30 million a fight. We're going to give you 10 fights. Sign here. You can pretty much fight whoever you want. That sounded like a freaking unbelievable deal, and most people would probably sign it. So I can't blame Canelo for signing it. You know, it sounds like a freaking unbelievable deal. But if Floyd would have done that, would he have made the 200 million or 300 million he made in one fight actually, and then he made it in another one? He wouldn't have been able to do that. So I mean, between the his fight with Pacquiao and the fight with Conor, he probably made $500 million in those two fights alone. So would he have been able to do that? No, he would have been stuck with his $30 million, which again, nothing wrong with 30 million, but you should be always keep your upside. Believe in yourself, no matter what you do, whether you're in boxing or any other business. Keep your upside, you know. Believe in yourself.
I know that's the second time they've called.
All right.
I appreciate you. Thank you, Rich.
All right.
Appreciate you.
Thank you. Hey.